What did you do as a teenager that you'd never tell your parents? Story 1. Every time they sarcastically asked what I was going to do and I answered, smoke weed, I was actually telling the truth. My parents were incredibly shocked when I called them from jail. When they finally came to pick me up, I said in my defense, I literally warned you guys multiple times that I'd end up here, and my mom paused and said, You got me there, now shut up. Story 2. Context. My sister is 4 years older than me and super responsible, the kind who loves ratting out her little brother without remorse. She now lives far away at college. I'm the total opposite. Always in trouble, always acting wild. I'm currently in my senior year of high school. I have a job, good grades, and my parents finally decide they can trust me enough to go on vacation and leave me home alone. They hire a house sitter, John, who doesn't care what I do as long as I don't burn the place down. One fine Saturday morning, I wake up, pour myself a drink from Dad's locked liquor stash, and put on some porn, wearing nothing but boxers. 10 minutes later, surprise, my sister walks through the door. Luckily, I hear the car just in time to turn off the porn and throw a blanket over my junk. My sister instantly clocks that I'm in the living room wrapped in a blanket with a face red as a beet. Sister, hey. Me. Hey, didn't know you were coming home. I'm gonna hop in the shower. And that's it, or so it seems. Obviously there's more. My sister finds my drink, Dad's booze. I'd already finished it, but she smells the alcohol and writes our parents a note saying she found the glass next to my chair during a surprise visit. She hides the cup and note in our parents' bathroom. A couple days pass. I prep for my parents' imminent return by cleaning the house and find the note and cup my sister stashed. It doesn't just implicate me. It also drags in John, the house sitter. Turns out my sister had also found a stash of condoms and lube elsewhere in the house. I read it and desperately brainstorm a rescue plan. I rinse the glass and refill it with Coke. Next, I show the note to John. John, she's unhinged. The condoms are mine, part of my date night kit. Why is she snooping through my stuff? Me. Great question. The rest played out like a predictable yet perfectly choreographed movie. Parents get home. John pulls them aside about the note and cup. They sniff the cup, nothing. They read the note and interpret it as paranoid delusion. My sister gets a stern lecture about the dangers of snooping and invading privacy. And me, the 17-year-old drunk almost caught jerking off in the living room, gets an apology from my parents. My lips are sealed forever. Story 3. One day I didn't want to go to PE but had no good excuse, so I knew Dad wouldn't write me a note. Instead, I grabbed a blank sheet of paper and asked him to sign it because we're doing this thing in English where we guess personality from signatures. He totally bought it. Then I went to the printer, typed up a standard sick note, and fed the signed blank paper through so Dad's signature printed at the bottom. I'll probably tell him someday. I'm actually pretty proud of pulling it off. Story 4. My sister was really good at forging handwriting. She made bank in high school getting people out of class all day. That was my talent in high school, too. Mom taught me her signature when I was about 12 because my reading class had a daily log that needed a parent's signature for a grade. She didn't agree with it. So from then on, I signed all the paperwork, even stuff she wouldn't have approved of. Story 5. Senior year of high school. I snuck out around 2 a.m. to visit my boyfriend. My parents were control freaks and put bells on the front and back doors for burglars, but not on the laundry room door to the garage. And the garage had a side door to the outside. Obviously, that was my exit. The problem, the side door was tricky to tell if it locked behind you. You could always get out, but not always back in. Being a horny idiot, I assumed it'd be fine and left. After visiting my boyfriend, I tried to re-enter locked. Damn. I tried every entrance, all locked, but I had my phone and a crazy idea that might work. I called Mom in my best helpless daughter voice. Mom, I woke up in the front yard and the door's locked. I'm so scared. She rushed out to get me. I mumbled something about sleepwalking. She made me waffles because I was so upset. Mom still tells this story at family gatherings. I now have a reputation as a wacky sleepwalker. In short, hooked up with boyfriend, sold Mom a story, got waffles. Story 6. I once used Photoshop to change my grades on a bad report card. They never found out. Story 7. I used Inspect Element to fake my bank account balance when Mom asked how much money I had and what I'd bought lately. Somehow, for the next 2 months, I faked the numbers well enough that she didn't notice. I don't miss my parents spying on my finances, but I also don't miss being that financially irresponsible as a teen. Story 8. Mom still remembers the day I was unusually upbeat and chatty with her. I was actually high on Ritalin, ADHD meds. Another time I had a mini breakdown on Ritalin, called Mom at 6 a.m. and told her how bad and anxious I felt and that a lot of my problems were her and Dad's fault. Not a proud moment. Sorry, Mom. Story 9. Mom let my friends come over the night after graduation. Believe it or not, she coordinated with the other moms for a little party that included malt liquor and beer. We cranked the music, set up a table, and played Dungeons and Dragons all night. Mom still thinks we got wasted. It would break her heart to know the truth. Story 10. The night before my 17th birthday, I came home and Mom said I looked different. I said it was because I was older. Actually, my pupils were dilated because I'd done a fat line. Oh, I'm fine. By the way, when did we get these moving pictures? When did you put gifts on the wall? Story 11. Late, but I want to confess this. In high school, Mom was really broke. My sister and I live with her. We just moved into a new place with Mom's new boyfriend. He was cool until we all moved in together. Over time, he stopped paying his share of rent. Mom, still on a very low salary, covered everything. Rent, food for the whole house, phone bills, car insurance. Money was so tight that just getting by was a lifestyle. Winter hit, and temps dropped below 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Mom worked mornings. Her boyfriend refused to drive us anywhere before noon. We had to figure something out. Dad stepped in. He follows our lives, but we didn't live with him and barely saw him until then, and helped get my sister to school. She was a senior and stayed at her old school. I wanted to change and switch to a closer school, 20 to 30 minutes walking, way better than hers. Winter drained me and made me sick on the long walks. Something had to give. Mom saved up and spent $100 on a 4-month bus pass. Way easier than walking, my life improved so much. I had a medical issue with my testicles that made walking painful, different story. The part one never told Mom. I lost the pass in a week. No idea how. Maybe stolen or fell out of my wallet on the bus. I was crushed and felt insanely guilty for not telling her. I kept my schedule, left at bus time, but instead turned down a side street and ran as fast as my legs and half-frozen balls could without collapsing. I barely made classes on time for the next 4 months until spring warmed up. When the pass would have expired, I woke up to a new one left for me. Mom had been saving from every paycheck because she thought the bus meant so much to me. It was incredibly touching. I thanked her, kissed her head, and acted like it was normal. I still feel bad and never want to tell her. I'm not proud of it. Story 12. When I realized my parents hid all the liquor behind the washer and dryer, I started sneaking shots here and there. When my friends learned I had access to the liquor cabinet, we spent a beach weekend drinking. I panicked because I knew my parents would notice, but I also had to pee, and there were no public bathrooms. So I peed behind a sand dune into a fast food cup and poured it into Dad's nearly empty rum bottle. Drunk teen logic. I'd already borrowed enough rum, so I'd return the bottle. I'll never know if they used it, but I do know they host a January party every year and bring their own homemade brew, partially rum. In short, there's a chance my parents drank my pee. Story 13. Parents were out of town but left the car in the garage with keys in the kitchen. I was 16, had just learned to drive, and a girl texted that her parents weren't home. 10 minutes later, I grabbed the keys and drove across town in a car that wasn't mine, without a license. They'll never find out. Story 14. When I got my first phone, my parents went nuts about it being plugged in and off in the living room at night, probably to stop me from staying up. Unfortunately for them, my Nintendo 3DS had a halfway decent internet browser.